This draft season, I'm kicking off the ranking festivities early, discussing the top players at every position before the season even starts. Next up is the running backs, where we have a few intriguing situations to monitor before the season. If you're new, subscribe to the channel as I will be doing draft content all year long. But for now, I'm Chase Keller, and welcome to the preseason top 10 running backs in the 2025 NFL Draft. Enjoy. If you didn't watch my quarterbacks video, just a disclaimer that these are not my personal rankings. Instead, these are the consensus big board rankings as shown on Mock Draft Database. With that being said, let's dive into this 10th spot, beginning with South Carolina running back Raheem Sanders. A transfer from South Carolina, Sanders has one of the most intriguing paths that I've ever seen going from high school to college. He was recruited as a 210-pound wide receiver and linebacker, and now he's a 242-pound running back. And the transition paid off, especially during his sophomore season where he rushed for over 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. His nickname is Rocket, which is perfect given his play style. He literally shoots out like a rocket when he gets the ball. That explosiveness behind the line allows for him to execute through gaps and become a violent runner once past the line. The physicality is there, the athleticism is there, and he's a receiving threat in the backfield. I did say he was a wide receiver, so it's not that shocking. Rocket is an intimidating player, but he does not play like he's 242 pounds. The biggest concern for him as we speak is his injury bug, as he suffered a knee injury to start the 2023 season and suffered a torn labrum to end it. He's also an okay blocker for his size, and he wants to take the physical route on every run. He reminds me a lot of Blake Corum. As a receiver, he doesn't run great routes and he's not a threat in the slot, but he will be a solid threat as a checkdown or a screen player. So Rocket was a big name in the early 2024 NFL draft process, but after injuries derailed his 2023 season, he looks to make a name for himself yet again. He's number 10 on this list. Another running back who opted out of the 2024 NFL draft is 9th on this list. That being Kansas running back Devin Neal. Neal was a bit of a shocker to me, as his production alone should have got him as a day 2 pick. That production includes over 3,000 rushing yards on 5.7 yards per carry and 33 rushing touchdowns. He had 17 total touchdowns last season, and he wasn't a Doak Walker finalist, but no matter what, I'm sure he was really close. And it's not like his game doesn't translate over to the league, because it does. That starts with his crazy good athleticism. He's got some great lateral ability, some great explosiveness, some great contact balance. It's just great all around. His vision is also something that teams are going to love, as he uses that explosiveness to quickly get through gaps, sometimes really tight gaps. And he's got some upside as a receiving back, as long as he can get in the open field with a screen or a check down, he'll be good. But that great athleticism coincides with some bad physicality that especially shows on goal line or short down situations. Once he's faced with a good wrap-up tackle, he's done right there. He can't wiggle out of the tackle that well unless he uses his lateral agility to do it, and he can't really get any extra yardage either. On top of that, he has the upside as a receiving back, but he might not be seen on many passing downs because of his poor pass block production. But the athleticism is just too elite to pass up on if I'm a team looking to draft a running back. For those reasons, he's number 9 on this list. Some people may disagree with number 8, but the consensus clearly sees the upside in Michigan running back Donovan Edwards. He's still number 8 on this list despite going for 393 yards on 3.5 yards per carry and only 3 touchdowns during his 2023 campaign. That's before the national championship game. But people are quick to forget that he had a near 1,000 yard season in 2022 on 7.1 yards per carry and 7 touchdowns. And now with Corum gone, Edwards gets the opportunity to shine as the main lead back in that Wolverines offense. Seen as recently as the 2023 National Championship game, Edwards is a big-time play running back who uses his good explosiveness to get upfield fast. That explosiveness also ties into his good vision, which allows for him to quickly get through gaps behind the line. He's got viable physicality for the league, he's a scheme versatile back, and he's able to impact in the receiving game as well. On the flip side, he has that acceleration, but he doesn't have the lateral agility, at least not at the level that NFL teams want to see. Which means he does struggle to work in some tight gaps, and he sees most of his production when he has open field. And of course, the super inconsistent production is a concern for now, but if he can have a 2024 season that can be replicant of what he did in 2022, that concern goes away immediately. So Edwards has a huge year coming up, but for now, he ranks number 8 on this consensus running backs list. We stay in the Big Ten and talk about another intriguing situation in Penn State running back Nick Singleton at number 7. He's in a dual backfield with Kaytron Allen, and if all comes to it, both of them become top 100 picks. The former 5-star prospect has career numbers of 1,813 rushing yards on 5.5 yards per carry and 20 touchdowns. And despite being outproduced by Allen last season, his talent is undeniable, and that starts with his great vision. He does a great job at sniffing out gaps and getting just the amount of yardage that he needs. His athletic profile also shines, especially with his lateral agility, where the cuts that he makes get so much range. He also plays with very good patience, and his upside as an overall player, both on the ground and in the air, is just crazy good. While his patience is great at best, he does sometimes tend to get overly patient. In the process, he misses a gap. I had this same issue and still have this issue with Kenneth Walker. He's still developing as a receiving threat, as his route tree is fairly limited and his hands aren't reliable just yet. Finally, being in that dual backfield will spark questions on if he can work in a backfield by himself at the next level. Singleton is a fun prospect for the 2025 draft, and it makes sense why he ranks number 7 on this list. Moving on to number 6, I shouldn't be that shocked that Georgia running back Trevor Etienne is number 6 on this list, but I am a little shocked. With career numbers of just under 1,500 rushing yards and 14 rushing touchdowns in his 2 seasons, I'm not sure if he has the appealing production yet. Keep in mind, he was the starting running back those 2 years. But some will say that Georgia is RBU, and if they can develop Etienne really well, I won't be shocked anymore that he goes this high. For what he has already proven to us now, his athletic profile is really good, but what stands out the most is that lateral agility. He makes up a bunch of space with his cuts, he's able to make those cuts extremely quickly. He's just a super agile back. The athletic profile continues with his nice top speed and explosiveness both behind the line and in the open field. Along with that, his vision isn't great, but it is still a positive, and he adds value as a check down pass catcher. Negatively, he does come in as pretty undersized, and while that won't affect him at Georgia, it might affect him in the NFL. He has carried the ball 249 times in his career so far, which isn't terrible, until you note that he's been the starter the last 2 years. And he has recently sparked some off-the-field concerns because of his DUI arrest. That will probably result in a 1-game suspension at Georgia. But if Etienne can further develop his skill set past just having great athleticism, he should be drafted pretty high. Georgia will probably be the team to develop that. But for now, before he starts with Georgia, he is number 6 on this list. As we enter the top 5 of this list, we have the only non-Power 4 prospect here in Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. He took over the Broncos starting position last year and absolutely exploded with 1,300 rushing yards and 14 touchdowns. And this is in Mountain West competition, which is arguably the best non-Power 4 conference in the country. So where does Genty win? Well, he has the size to succeed even though he might only be 5'9". His 217-pound frame allows for him to be low to the ground and get great contact on defenders, especially taller defenders. He is also one of the most creative runners in all of college football, which makes up for his just average lateral agility. But that physicality and contact balance is enough to be breaking tackles on tackles. On top of that, he's one of the most deadly threats out of the backfield, having 569 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns in 2023. Then we get to the speed part of his athletic profile, which, if I'm being honest, it's not that great considering he gets a lot of opportunities to break away. His vision is very good behind the line, but in the open field, he will tend to try and make the physical play. And since he is a shorter running back, his physicality won't be enough to have him take the next level as a pass blocker. But Genty is a very fun non-Power 4 prospect that should make headlines as we go into this draft. But for now, he ranks number 5 on this 2025 NFL Draft running backs list. Only one spot higher than Genty, not just on this list, but on the consensus big board as a whole, is Ohio State running back TreVeyon Henderson. The first of 2 Ohio State running backs on this list, he was once recognized as the best running back going into the 2024 NFL Draft, but instead, he stays an extra year of college, and now he gets to battle in a dual backfield. Despite being the second projected running back out of Ohio State to be drafted, he has the skill set to be a number 1 at the next level. This is because of his intriguing combination of size and athleticism, which is one of the best combinations in this whole draft class. Henderson is a 5'11", 215-pound running back who has good lateral agility and explosiveness. He also comes in with some good deep speed, as while it's not elite, it will be enough for him to break free on a lot of runs. He also has the vision behind the line to succeed, as he has the great patience and will barely run into plugged gaps. Now, there was an injury concern last season, and there is now an injury concern this season. He missed 3 games of 2023 due to a quote-unquote cheap shot against Notre Dame, as Henderson does describe it. But what's more concerning is Ohio State never disclosed what his injury was. In terms of his traits, he does have some open field concerns because of his decision making when in the open field. And along with that, he hasn't shown much success in the bare minimum gap runs that Ohio State runs, which might make him scheme specific. But I promise that Henderson being a potential RB2 on his college team shouldn't take away that he might be an RB1 on an NFL team. He's number 4 on this list. The third spot on this list is taken by a guy who absolutely exploded in 2023. I'm talking about North Carolina running back Omarion Hampton. From year 1 to year 2, his rushes went up by 288%, his rushing yards went up by 375%, and he went from 6 rushing touchdowns to 15. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school, which doesn't make this totally shocking, but the boost does get him as a day 2 projection. Hampton might just be the most violent runner in this draft, as he uses a combination of physicality and explosiveness to dominate in the open field. He also has very solid lateral agility, and he's able to make up a lot of room on his cuts. He's got viable vision to succeed, he has the prototypical build for an NFL running back, and he's able to impact in the receiving game. On the flip side, he will sometimes run into linebackers after he's past the line of scrimmage. In these cases, he does rely on physicality more than anything else. I've already talked about this with Ashton Genty and Rocket Sanders. With his 6-foot frame, he will run with a high pad level sometimes, and with him being taller than most running backs, that doesn't help. And he won't wow you with his deep speed, and as I said before, He will rely on that violent running play style instead of just breaking away and going. But with the skill set that Hampton has, he should have no worries going into the NFL. He's number 3 on this consensus running back list. The runner-up on this list is the reigning Doak Walker Award winner, that being Oklahoma State running back Ollie Gordon II. And he was absolutely worthy of the award. Along with that, he finished 7th on the Heisman voting, which was the 2nd highest of any positional player, only behind Marvin Harrison Jr. He finished his 2023 campaign with over 1,700 rushing yards on 6.1 yards per carry and 21 touchdowns. He also added 330 receiving yards and a touchdown in the air, so he was over 2,000 yards on the season. So how is he so good? Well, first off, his vision is top-notch for this draft class. He has the perfect amount of patience before he decides to explode through a gap and chug into the open field. His lateral agility is also phenomenal for this class, as he can make several elite cuts in just one outing. He's got the size, he's got the physicality, he's got the deep speed, he's got the contact balance, he's got a lot that you ask for in a running back. Now, as for the weaknesses, he does need to learn how to bounce outside more when the line is clogged up. Some scouts have called it quote unquote, he does too much in the backfield. He just really tries to be flashy behind the line of scrimmage. And as I'm writing this script, it was released that Gordon was arrested for a DUI and having open alcohol containers in his car. That'll definitely spark some off-the-field concerns. But Gordon is a dog. He's the best running back in all of college football, and time will tell if he's the best running back in the 2025 NFL Draft. With that being said, Gordon does fall just one spot short of number 1, and he settles for number 2. And finally, ranked number 1 on this consensus running backs list is none other than Ohio State running back Quinshon Judkins. Judkins transfers in from Ole Miss, and he now joins a dual backfield after spending his first 2 seasons as the primary lead back. In his freshman year, he was a Doak Walker Award candidate with over 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns on the ground. As a freshman, his sophomore year wasn't as impressive, but adding 1,100 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns is still good nonetheless. Now, he brings a powerful skill set over to the Buckeyes, as he is also a super violent runner. He breaks so many tackles using that physicality, as he was 7th and 4th in missed tackles forced over the last 2 seasons. Add that with his great explosiveness, size, and blocking abilities, and you have yourself a running back worth this number 1 spot. Negatively, Judkins doesn't have a lot at all, but his vision is just average, primarily due to his bad patience behind the line. He gets too patient. He doesn't get impatient though. And when it comes to translating over to the NFL, he could use some more receiving value, as he does have under 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in his 2-season career. And that's all I have to say about Judkins. He now gets some experience as the not so far and wide number 1 running back in an offense. As a result, going into the season, Judkins is ranked as the best running back in the 2025 NFL Draft. Well, those are the current 10 best running backs in the 2025 NFL Draft. Is there anyone that should be on this list? Let me know in the comments section below. Wait, are you not subscribed yet? Well, do it now. I release content like this all the time and would really appreciate your support. I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and I will see you all next time.